The Icefields Parkway is one of the most beautiful drives in North America as it runs between Jasper and Banff National Park. The road can be driven in a day as it travels through the rugged Canadian Rockies and passes glaciers, waterfalls, and the Columbia Icefield from which it gets its name. We spent the better part of a rainy day driving it, and here are all of our favorite spots. Let us know what yours are in the comments, and be sure to stay to the end where you'll see us arrive at the famous Lake Louise. Let's jump into it. We started the drive by leaving the small town of Jasper and heading south towards Banff on the 230 kilometer or 140 mile drive. Almost immediately after going through the park entrance, we took a detour which is about 40 minutes up to the Edith Cavell Trail. The drive up here is windy and we saw a car go off the road on the way back down, so be careful. There's a couple trails here, but we're just doing the shortest one. Not the best day for a hike, but hopefully it clears up when we go back down and we start the Icefields Parkway actual drive. Also, when you're in Jasper, you just gotta make the most of it. This trail is short with an amazing payoff and the parking lot is small, so get here early during the summer. Check it out, we're about 5 minutes into the hike and you can already see a glacier and waterfalls. The trail to Cavell Lake is only 1.3 miles round trip or 2 kilometers round trip. There's our first view of the lake right below. That is a pretty stunning view. Check that out. I didn't know what to expect when I started this hike, and I was blown away by how beautiful it was. You can stop here and take it in from the viewpoint, or you can continue all the way down to the lake on a rugged trail. It's a little bit slippery and steep if you decide to do that, but that's what pretty much everyone was doing when we were there. I can't even believe that this area is accessed by a less than 1 mile hike. I mean, look at that. There's like icebergs in the lake right in front of me. Check out this shot my dad got of me from far away to give you a sense of scale. I mean, I can't even believe that this is real life. But unfortunately, we got to keep going. The rain and lots more stops on the Icefield Parkway.
I love this hike. It's a bit of a steep hike coming up, but then you get out here and get to see that incredible big waterfall there, and then these smaller ones that are dropping like hundreds of feet. It's just incredible. Get right up close to a glacier, just beautiful.
I agree, that's one of the best short hikes I think I've ever done, but do note that when it's not raining, it can be incredibly busy and difficult to find parking. From there, we made the hike back to the parking lot, and even in the rain, someone was very excited to grab our spot. After about 30 minutes of driving, we are back to the Icefields Parkway. Next up is Athabasca Falls. We went here yesterday, so my dad already saw it, and there was no parking, so he just dropped me off to take a few clips before we head on. The parkway is an incredibly busy part of Alberta, Canada that people flock to in the summer, and it was a weekend, so parking was a little bit difficult on our drive. There are multiple viewing platforms for Athabasca Falls, with some being direct and some being from the side. It's definitely a place you want to spend about 45 minutes walking out to each of the viewing platforms and taking in the 78-foot waterfall. I was shocked by how much water was flowing through this relatively small waterfall. If you even get remotely close to it, the amount of water coming through will cover you in mist. Even though I saw it yesterday, I'm still blown away by the incredibly raw power of that waterfall. Definitely something you have to stop for. From Athabasca Falls, we started the drive south, and unfortunately some of the best viewpoints were a little bit clouded in because of the rain. This is the Goats and Glaciers lookout. Unfortunately, I don't see a goat or a glacier right now, but it's still a nice view. I wish we would have had more days here to explore, as I would have loved to have done this drive when it was a little bit clearer. As you can see though, it's still stunning, and be sure to check out what we did the previous day in Jasper National Park, which is linked in the description. Our next stop brought us about 15 minutes down the road to Sunwapta Falls. This is another one with a pretty small parking lot, but luckily it's only 0.1 kilometers down to the falls lookout, so people aren't here for very long and it's pretty easy to get a spot. There are two viewing platforms for the falls, one which is up on a bridge and looks down on it, and another which is right from the side at the top. You definitely want to go to both of them, as the views through the gorge and of the waterfall are great. Hiking down to the one at the top of the falls is a little bit slippery with lots of routes you have to navigate, but not too bad. This is another short waterfall at about 18 meters or 60 feet, but there's a lot of power coming through this one as well, so it's impressive.
Pops and I were wondering how that rock is still standing right there.
Yeah, the pressure on that is immense.
He said the pressure is immense, you probably couldn't hear him.
Apparently there's a lower falls that you can see as well, but I didn't know that when I was there, so we didn't see it in this video.
This waterfall and Athabasca don't have the height that you'd expect from a lot of these waterfalls, but they sure do have the power.
Saying goodbye to Sunwapta Falls, we continue the drive south on the moody and cloudy Parkway. If it's clear when you go, this is one of those drives where the drive is the destination. The views of the mountains and the rivers and the glaciers are incredible, and we got to see a little bit of it the previous day when it wasn't as cloudy. Plus, there are a few different lookouts where you can pull out and get some views along the drive. And if you have more time, you could probably spend a couple days just taking it all in.
We're almost halfway through the drive, and this is the first time we've actually been able to get a pretty decent view. Pops is soaking it in.
The terrain is so dramatic here, it's something you really have to see.
Almost immediately after that glacier viewpoint, watch for another pullout on the right-hand side, and you can see this waterfall. Just be careful while you're crossing the road.
This is Tangle Creek Falls, and it's about 100 feet or 35 meters, and it drops over multiple tiers. There's not really an established trail, but there's lots of use trails that people take to get up to the base of the top part of the falls.
Here's what it looks like if you make it all the way to the top.
Look at how close this waterfall is to the road. That's the road right there. And you can hike up to this amazing waterfall.
It's definitely a scramble to get up here, so my dad stayed at the base, but I have to say I was really impressed with this one.
Don't miss the pullout. That's epic.
As you continue south, you'll almost immediately reach the Skywalk and then the Columbia Icefield Glacier Adventure area. This is definitely a place you're going to want to spend some time, as there's a couple great lookouts here even if you don't go on the adventures that give you great glacier views. Check out how tiny the Icefield crawler and the people are in this shot, as it gives you a great sense of scale for how big this glacier truly is.
That's the Athabasca Glacier right behind me. We actually visited it and went out on it yesterday, and here's a few clips of that adventure.
You can see the full experience in our Jasper National Park and one-day video linked in the description. But my dad and I had a great time taking the Ice Explorer vehicles out onto the glacier, getting to walk around it, getting to try the glacial water, and then ending the day by going over to the Skywalk, which is a bridge that's suspended way above the valley below. This is about a 2 to 3 hour adventure that cost around $115 when we went, if that's something that you want to do. Alright, now back to our day driving the Icefields Parkway. We took in the view of the Athabasca Glacier for a little bit longer before continuing the drive south.
At this stage of the journey, we are entering Banff National Park. And we're saying so long to Jasper National Park.
Banff National Park is one of those places that I've wanted to go to for decades. While we didn't get to spend a lot of time there in this video, I was excited for every part of it I got to see.
As you can no doubt tell, we picked one of the worst days for our Icefields Parkway road trip, but hopefully you're still enjoying going on this adventure with us.
You always got to be prepared for construction when you're driving in Canada or Alaska in the summertime. There's a lot of people waiting to go the way we just came. We got lucky on that one, at least we're going this way.
That area is called the Weeping Wall. I thought it would be weeping a little bit more in the rain.
As we continued on, the road dropped down in elevation and we ended up going along a river. There was a couple lookouts, so I pulled out at one of them to take in the views. It was so interesting to see the light teal color of the water from the glacier runoff. Finally, the rain started to clear a little bit as we headed into Saskatchewan River crossing.
We are here. We started in Jasper and we're heading to Lake Louise.
While not exactly the midpoint, this is where most people stop to get food on their drive.
We found a place that has hot dogs and pretzels, so that's what lunch is for us today. Not bad though.
Lunch of champions.
Lunch of
Oh,
champions.
here's a good one right here. That's a good sized hot dog.
Yesterday we had a nice smoked salmon bowl. Today we got hot dogs and soft pretzels. Let the record state that I asked Pops to do reconnaissance, and he said there was only hot dogs and pretzels, and then we went for a place to sit, and look, there's a restaurant here.
If you want to find out the facts, go find out the facts on your own. I was looking for a hot dog, I found one, and that's a good one. It's a big one.
So yeah, if you want something to eat, there's a hot dog and soft pretzels, plus there's a restaurant, and there's even a place to get ice cream.
Easy stop for lunch, snacks, souvenirs, whatever you want. A couple more stops before we end our time.
As we continued south, we entered a land of lakes, and you'll see that there's a lot of beautiful ones we're about to experience. The first pullout we found was the Waterfowl Lakes viewpoint, and believe it or not, there were actually some ducks swimming in the water right there. If you're interested in seeing all of the spots where we stopped on an interactive map, I'll share it over on our Patreon. Shortly down the parkway, we got to our next destination, which was Peyto Lake. Here you have to hike on a paved trail out to the viewpoint. It takes about 10 minutes to get out there, and there is wheelchair accessible parking closer to the viewpoint, which skips a lot of the hills that you have to walk when you're going. This is definitely one of the best stops on the drive, don't miss it.
That's a pretty unique color for a lake, huh, Pops?
It's incredible, yeah. Wonder gives it that different color from the typical blue of a glacier. It's a little different, a little greener.
I wonder what it would look like when the sun was popping through.
From this viewpoint, you can see glaciers out in the distance and massive mountains with the turquoise water right below it. It's definitely one of the best views I saw in Canada.
Like we've said many times on this trip, that lake color does not even look real. And the sun's not shining and it's still popping like that.
Back in our car, we headed over Bow Pass, which is the highest point on Icefields Parkway, on our way to our next stop at Bow Lake.
This is Bow Lake, just another random turnoff on our drive.
Surrounded by glaciers at every vista point you can see.
This lake is also one of the most beautiful things I've seen in Canada, with the ragged peaks behind it and the turquoise water. I mean, how do you even take a bad picture here? It's stunning in every direction.
We've seen so many great views on this drive, but honestly, that may be one of my favorites. That's Crowfoot Glacier. As you can see, it kind of looks like a crow's foot.
As we left Bow Lake, we only had one more viewpoint to stop at, as we were only about 25 minutes away from Lake Louise, which was our endpoint for this trip.
This is the last viewpoint of our Icefields Parkway road trip. Peyto Lake viewpoint.
For my last viewpoint, I'd like to have beautiful pine trees, maybe some mountains, a beautiful blue river, and glacier. You can arrange something like that.
Where's the glacier at?
Straight ahead.
Oh, there it is. Got it. All of them.
Thank you.
All right, onward to Lake Louise, our last stop on the road trip.
And just like that, we are on the Trans-Canada Highway, and our time on the Icefields Parkway has completed.
I'm sad. That was a gorgeous stretch of road there, man.
We're still gonna see Lake Louise before we leave, though.
When I planned this trip a few months prior, I knew how difficult it would be to get to Lake Louise because of parking in the summer, so I booked a hotel that allowed us to walk there.
I was able to get a room near Lake Louise, but it only has one queen-size bed. So, rock, paper, scissors. We did get a rollaway though. Alright, it's a moment I've been waiting for a long time. I'm walking over to finally see Lake Louise myself. I've seen a lot of beautiful places in my life, but this is up there with all of them. This is incredible. Speechless.
Lake Louise is just one of those iconic spots that I've seen my entire life and I never thought I was going to be able to visit myself.
Very, very cool.
The craziest thing is that it looks like you're looking at a painting. It doesn't even look real at all.
That's so true.
We spent the last hour of the day just hanging out by the lake, taking in the views, and relaxing from our long trip. There was a storm moving in the next day, so this was all we got to see of Banff, but I'll be back again.
That's it for our road trip on the Icefields Parkway. Hopefully you enjoyed coming along with us, even though it was raining. We'll see you on the next one.
If you want to see more things to do in this area, watch our video on Jasper National Park, and you can find all of these spots on the map in the Patreon. We'll see you on the next video.